Hey guys, it's History Behind the Warrior and welcome back to another Mortal Kombat 11 video. Now in today's topic and discussion, we will be talking about the most recent retcon that's happened with the series. That's been the Mortal Kombat X comic book series. You see, the Mortal Kombat X comic book series was created and designed to bridge the gap between Mortal Kombat 9 and X, as well as build up some hype for the game. As well, it was the 10th installment in the series, and was once again seen as a game to introduce new fans to the series, hence the new characters that did come along with this. Now the comics were designed to not only bridge the gap between 9 and X, but also give those characters some form of development, something they otherwise would have lacked of in-game, due to the nature of the chapter system with Mortal Kombat games. And whilst the comics didn't always line up with the games, they were confirmed to be canon by both Ed Boon and writer Sean Kittleson. And again, whilst there was continuity errors, the games barely referenced the events of the comics, only dropping very vague Easter eggs here and there, but nothing that messed up the timeline too much. Now most recently, remaining writer at NetherRealm Studios, Dominic Cianciolo, has recently come out and said that the Mortal Kombat X comic book series are no longer canon, with only minor things being integrated into it from game. But let's actually talk about how this is pretty problematic. But before we move forward, we do in fact have a sponsor for today's video. Have you ever wanted to fit a truly unique AAA quality game right in the palm of your hand? Something you can literally play anytime, anywhere? Well, now you can with Raid Shadow Legends, with 500 different champions to collect with their own exclusive skill trees, as well as millions of artifacts to find and equip. No two champions will ever be the same. Now one thing I do actually like about Raid, as a Pro League commentator, it's nice being able to play the game on the go or even at home, as Raid is playable on both mobile device and desktop. Now another aspect of Raid I personally enjoy is in fact the gameplay. In a world where the first person and third person action market feels super oversaturated with similar ideas, it's honestly really nice to take a step back with an RTS. What really helps and benefits Raid is that every champion comes with a different unique toolkit, allowing for a mix and variety of ways to approach combat, so no team composition will ever feel the same. Now this being said, what's new with Raid? Well, Raid just released the Artifact Forge, where you can save items and craft artifacts directly, as well as a whole new advanced quest system with amazing reward. But it doesn't quite end there. They've also brought out some amazing new champions, and are currently developing the Doom Tower as we speak. So what are you waiting for? Go to the video description, click on the special links if you are a new player, and you will get 200,000 gold as well as one new champion. All this treasure will be waiting for you here, so good luck and I will catch you there. Now, I do wish to say this here, and I do want you to all understand, this is not an attack on Dominic Cianciolo, this is a constructive analysis of a situation that I'm going to criticize because I love the series. I don't want more things to be taken away for whatever reason, as really this retcon doesn't benefit anyone. I do apologize in advance if I get heated about this, but this is something I'm actually very passionate about, and I do actually get affected by. Now first off, let's talk about canon as a whole. Canon within Mortal Kombat has never really been a single linear line, with multiple different interpretations and spin-off games, as well as the only way to find out endings in the original games was through the arcade ladder endings. Continuity has always been somewhat problematic, not because it's Mortal Kombat, but that was simply the limitations of fighting games back in the day. Now with a different format and approach, with a proper story mode now existing, it was designed to bring some form of coherent sense to the story, and for the most part it is well done. That is up until Mortal Kombat 11, and this is unfortunately the game where things just really do spin out of control. From a continuity standpoint, MK11 just tampers with a lot of canon. I think the biggest examples I can give here is of course the new depiction of Sindel. Now whilst I will most certainly admit, this depiction of Sindel was well executed for Aftermath's story, it was the furthest thing from an accurate portrayal of the character, and thus because of this, Sindel's was the most extreme of the bunch. Now there are other retcons, such as Cabal still working with the Black Dragons, and being able to use his speedster-like abilities without having a proper physical upgrade, and of course Scarlet, now no longer being a creature of Shang Tsung's flesh pits, but instead an orphan of Outworld. Now the Cabal and Scarlet retcons don't affect the overall story, and are somewhat minor changes to their characters. Sindel's on the other hand, was completely altered for a story arc, which is fundamentally why hers is more problematic. Now ever since these retcons, fans have most certainly been pretty vocal about this. So the retcon of the Mortal Kombat X comic book series is pretty baffling to me, I'm not gonna lie. There's clearly a bit of a disconnect right now of the fandom. So a retcon this large doesn't do anything but tear the rift wider, to the point that now I am seeing a market where people create videos to bash NRS and what they do. It seems to be like the popular thing to do right now, and I do not feel like a retcon like this does anything but feed that market and just further divides the fan base from the studio. That's the fundamental problem right now. The fandom has clearly not been quite happy with the decisions that have been made, so throwing away even more of your backlog just simply throws more gasoline on the fire. Now, let's actually talk about the Mortal Kombat X comic book series and how it did in fact benefit Mortal Kombat as a whole. Well, for one, is that Mortal Kombat X introduced a new generation of characters, with notable faces like Kotal Kahn, Devora, Takeda, Cassie, and so on and so forth. There was a large cast of new individuals that many were thrown off by, because where did these characters come from? What gives them a worthy spot to be on the roster? Well, the Mortal Kombat X comic book series helped fill in the gaps that the game otherwise missed out on. It helped build up a lot of character relationships, as well as develop the new generation and what they were all about. But now that's all gone. Kotal Kahn's feud with Goro, and some of the best character moments he's ever had, severing the arms of Prince Goro, slaying King Gorbak, and fighting back against a blood god army, gone. Takeda's training, and how Scorpion had taken him on as a son, and fighting in order to survive against greater odds, gone. Cassie's disconnect with her own family, and strive to be her own being and something more, all gone. There are moments now that have been ripped away from these characters that just turn them into blank canvases. My problem is that the X comic book series did a lot more than what the games could, due to the limitations they have. The comic books were a breath of fresh air, and it in turn allowed us to relate to these characters, get to know them as people, instead of just another fighter on the roster. I mean, even if you didn't care about these characters, at least they did try to do something with them. Ferrator, for example, enslaved and brutally tortured by Tarkatans till they were saved by Kotal, and in turn dedicated their life to his success. That's all gone now. They're just another drama in a molo. And even on top of this, what doesn't help, although I've been talking about the new generation of characters, it actually did a lot for some legacy ones. Instead of Reiko simply just being a Shao Kahn fanboy, he was elevated to godhood through the blood code. He became a blood god, an almighty deity that literally consumed Mileena and Kotal Kahn's army. But again, all of that's gone. Havoc was able to show that he was more than just some wacky, goofy character that could snap his neck back and forth. It showed that he was a tactical genius and was smart enough to play all pieces of the board against each other in order to get what he wanted. But again, gone. Hell, even Tremor, who made his first proper appearance since Special Forces, now completely all gone. Tremor didn't do any of that because it's all scrapped and gone. My point is, eroding the comics does nothing to clear up the canon, and instead just makes things more hazy, and in turn renders a lot of characters as shallow blank canvases. Now, hypothetically, let's say they're working on more story related DLC, and they are using characters from the MKX comic book line in order to do so. Well, why do you need to retcon the comics to achieve that? We have clearly already established that death doesn't really matter in Mortal Kombat. Baraka and Mileena were both killed off in MKX only to return in 11. Dying isn't a problem here, so scrapping away an intricate part of character development and story doesn't seem to do anything to benefit the overall story. The idea of this retcon just feels very tacked on, and I really do not like it. Another problem here is a clear lack of a proper roadmap. By at least creating a rough timeline of events that are unfolding, it gives you an idea to plan ahead and get a gist of how you wish to write the story over the course of 12 years. By at least doing that, you can twist and alter aspects over that 12-year cycle to make sure that the form of coherency remains the same, and you're able to add different ideas in and take away aspects that you don't feel have aged well. It just allows the flow of the story to be far better. I think from a storytelling standpoint, it's far more practical than scrapping the new stuff that was supposed to line up with the current continuity, as again, it just makes things really complicated. I think what also doesn't help in this aspect is the somewhat multiverse they opened up in Mortal Kombat 11. One of the biggest aspects of MK11 was the validation of everyone's somewhat headcanon, enabling the larger universe to open up with a multiverse. But now it seems like they're going back on what they said with the canon and just having it be how it is. Now yes, by removing the multiverse aspect, it does allow for a strict linear line for a coherent story. But what would happen if I didn't have Twitter? How would I learn of this information? Easy. I wouldn't. Confirming and deconfirming things via Twitter is not how storytelling should be. It should be by the medium it's normally told through. So in also saying that again, why scrap the comics when they've clearly not played a part in the larger overall story? They are, in the kindest way possible, a filler arc to introduce new characters, as well as a way to incorporate some of the older ones within the main canon. It's just so infuriating now that even I have to explain it. It feels like an unnecessary retcon. Now yes, it has been said that what you hear in game is canon in Mortal Kombat 11, but you know what I would kind of call that? It's cherry picking. Selectively picking and choosing what works for the canon without a proper coherent timeline, again, just makes things really complicated. It's unnecessary and does nothing but kind of give me a headache. Now, on a personal note, this genuinely upsets me and actually does sabotage my work. You see, I pride myself on being a reliable source of information for fighting games, whether that be Street Fighter, Tekken, Soul Calibur, or Mortal Kombat. I've always wanted to be an individual that could educate and entertain, but now in one full swoop, 70% of my Mortal Kombat History Of videos are inaccurate and wrong, because something that was canon and something we were told was canon has just been scrapped to the wind. Like, come on, I get it. The comics didn't have a proper conclusion, but you don't need to scrap the entire thing. I've been covering NRS games for 7 years, and I guarantee you when I say this, not everyone has the money, time, or luxury to read said comics. It's an unnecessary removal of an arc. Again, on another personal note, this genuinely upsets me, because of those of you who don't know, a video I'm extremely proud of is my collaboration with Sean Kittleson for the Goro Onaga video that we made. It showed off the second season of comics that were never published, and it was an exclusive thing for the channel. After 7 years of content creation, 5 years of being a fan of this guy's work, we were finally able to join forces and bring you the second season of comics that many of us had waited and yearned for. I'm so proud of that on this channel, but like that, it's all gone, as now it seems like it wasn't even canon in the first place. So the video I made with Sean no longer holds any weight behind it, and it's upsetting for me as both a fan of the games and the comics. It sucks. I can't be more honest than that. Now, I honestly at this point have nothing else to say. I think everyone understands how big of a problem retconning has become, and it sucks that even after all of the character retcons we do have, that they've torn out an entire arc. It seems very extreme in my book, and I can't advocate for this. As much as I'd want to come on here and channel my inner asshole, like cursing and chastising them for this, I definitely don't feel like this is the way to go. So what do? Well, make your voices heard, show the importance of legacy, and let them know why you love the comics and canon so much. Now, I'm not saying to go at them, because that's definitely not the way to do it. And please, if you're going to express your opinion, please do so respectfully and constructively. Now, I've been sitting on this video for like 2 days, and honestly, I found this really hard to make. I actually haven't written a script for this video, and I've only put down pinpoints to talk about things, so I do apologize if the structure of this is messy, but I wanted to kind of be honest here and speak how I really feel about the topic. I feel like writing out a full-blown script would kind of take away from how I feel about this. It feels like tampering with what I love, and I simply cannot agree with this decision or choice. Anyway, that's it for me. No proper outro for this video, as I don't feel like it really works for the topic at hand. If you like this video, you know what to do. Please support the other work I'm doing on the channel, more specifically Devil May Cry. But until then, stay safe and keep fighting, guys. Take care, and I'll catch you on the next one.